Welcome to EnigmaCast, everybody. Surprise Thursday night live. I know back-to-back weeks going live. I had a small schedule conflict. So tonight, we're going to go live with a project we've been working on for a hot minute. Give everybody a chance to sync up, get a chance for everything to click in, and then we'll go. We are running live right now on Rumble, on my left, YouTube, on my right. And before we get into this, man, I hope everybody is staying warm. Also, we are running a vertical stream right now, straight up and down. I don't have much control over the vertical stream, so if the vertical stream on your phone is giving you a hard time, just go to the YouTube page, click it over like this way, and you'll be good to go. So, let's get into it, man. Tonight, we got a very good episode real quick. Let me check the chats real quick. Over here on YouTube, Robert, what's good? Billy, what's going on, big guy? What's going on, boys? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining in tonight as well. Rumble, you guys are over here. You're usually the quiet crowd. You show up a little bit late. I guess that's the Rumble vibe. So anyways, this will be live tomorrow for everybody else on all the other platforms. So we go live on Thursdays, and I drop it on every single streaming platform on the planet Friday afternoon. So let's get into it, everybody. And again, I hope you're enjoying this man-made cold front that's going back and forth. A lot of people have sent me videos and photos of the cloud seeding from Oregon all the way down here to Florida. So, yeah, stay warm out there, man, especially you guys that are up in the Appalachian Mountains. I know it is 7 degrees up there, and that's real cold up there. I remember those winters during my youth, and I do not envy being down here. But if it makes you feel any better, I had to wear a long sleeve today in Florida, so you guys pray for me. Anyways, let's get into it. Tonight, we're going to be talking about an episode that has been on my desk to do for a while now. And as always, when I look into these cases and I look into these investigations, they are extremely, so much detail that is out there for the public. It's just not pushed. And I'm going to tell you guys of a story that I think is actually more impressive than the Roswell story, and more evidence to prove it. And it is also really not even covered up so much over there. All right. Juan, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, come back to Tennessee, Robert. I'll see you in the spring, buddy. See you in April. That's what I plan. I'll tell my relatives I'm going to come for a visit up there. All right, let's get into it, everybody. Let's do this. Tonight we're going to be talking about, literally it's called Brazil's Roswell. The Varginha UFO case is how it is officially described in local news reportings, and actually CIA and U.S. military intelligence documents as well, that I'm going to break down as we get into it. Now, this incident took place. I'm going to give you the who, the what, the when, the where, a little bit of the why, and then I'm going to give you my explanation on what I actually think it really is, right? And again, I've been to the UAP hearings in Congress when I was living up near DC back in 2004. Spoke to Tim Burchett in the hallway, got several pictures. He is one of the best people I've ever met. Tim Burchett is a congressman out of Tennessee. He didn't have to talk to me. Took a couple pictures together. He put it on all my socials, and he's a really good guy. And I also talked to Jeremy Boring in the hallway, and I actually met Lou Elizondo, Lou Elizondo is big in the in the UFO field. Fun fact, Lou actually had blocked me on X and didn't realize it was me, but it was still a good conversation. He was still a good guy, man, so no hard feelings. So anyways, let's get into this. The when. January 20, 1996 is when this happened, right? Fairly recent in relative terms of the scope and magnitude of this event that's about to go down. The where is Varginha, Brazil, right? And I'm going to go into a little bit about Varginha's exact location in a minute, but I'm going to give you the time this happened. This actually went down in broad daylight. This happened around, people argue, 10 a.m. to noon or 1 p.m. The exact time, I don't really look into it. I can usually try to narrow things down to a 4-hour window, man. So between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. for all my critics that love to hit me up, is when this took place, right? But actually, something strange happened around 6 a.m. that I think plays into what happened between 10 and 1, and we'll get to that as we go, right? Now, also, different witnesses said that this event happened in several small different locations. So when we get into it, it's important that you know that the things that are going on were live, right? It wasn't just a standard event. If you watch Roswell, it talks about debris and bodies just laying there. That's not what happened in Varginha, right? Now, I hope I'm pronouncing Varginha correctly, but it's in Varginha, Minas Gerais, Brazil, right? Basically, it's southeastern Brazil, roughly, the best that I can describe it, right? And these sightings and encounters occurred largely in the residential areas on the edges of Varginha, right? If you've ever been to any Central or South American countries or places before, usually they have their little novellas, little stores on the corner in their areas, right? And you have neighborhoods around, right? It's very convenient. But it was also right on the edge of the residential area, and right next to the residential area is farmland. And then that's on the western end of the city. On the eastern end, you have the coastal stuff over there as well. I looked up the area, man. The best way I can describe it is nothing spectacular, not dense jungles that are present in Brazil, but kind of hills, a lot of open territory, really, right outside the city limits is where it happened, right? So not a lot of places to hide and kind of open, right? So forget all that, nerds. Let's get into the good part, right? Like actually what really happened. So the residents of this town started reporting at 6 a.m. that they were here. They heard several loud bangs and explosions, right? Is what they reported that they were hearing, right? Some people will say that they thought it sounded like a car exploded. Somebody said it sounded like cars backfiring. Other people said it sounded like a plane had crashed. Just depends on who you talk to, really, down there. Get all that out of the way, man. People were hearing strange noises. You know how I like to do on this channel, man? We take everything down to a baseline level and just talk about they were hearing strange things. What's going on, Ash? Congratulations, Ash. Got 4,000 followers, man. I saw you on Facebook over there, man. I gave you a little shout out, man. Good stuff, man. Good stuff, right? Anyways, back to it. Something happened. They were hearing strange noises, out of the ordinary noises, right? So they were hearing. And so on the morning, January 20th, 1996, people just woke up after that, were going about their normal day, right? They heard some strange things happen at 6 a.m. People still got to go to work, still doing their things. It was just a normal day, right? And again, Varginha is not a remote village. It's important that I put that out there, man. It's not a remote village where they were in the middle of the scabby, man, like, going through, muddy roads or anything like that. It's fairly modern. It's not near any military, it's not a military base, but one is semi-close, but not right on it, man. This is not in the middle of the night. It was, I would say Varginha is probably a fairly populated city. It's rural, mind you, but it's fairly populated, right? Daylight hours. Boom. That's the scenario. 3 young women, 3 girls that know each other, getting up. They're walking. They always get up, meet each other at a certain corner. They all walk, get on the bus, and they all go to work, right? And these 3 young women, their name was Lillian Valkyries Silva. Sorry, my Portuguese is not that good. Obviously sisters. And their friend, Cata Xavier. These were the 3 women, right? And it's important because, when I look at this type of stuff, I look at police reports and people that want to give their names and put that information out there as they go, right? And these girls did that. They didn't hide their identities. They didn't do any of that stuff, right? So, normal day for these 3 ladies. They get out and about. They meet up. They're on their way. They're walking through. They noticed something strange. The first thing they noticed was a very strong odor, right? And the best way to describe that odor was rotten eggs, but it's actually sulfur. They were smelling sulfur, right? If you've ever been around natural gas, a gas leak or anything like that, or you've actually been around the powdered form of sulfur, which I do believe is yellow. If you've ever been around that, it smells exactly like rotten eggs. And that's another theory that I have, is that growing up in the Appalachian Mountain Range, upper East Tennessee, that, right down the western end of North Carolina, is the Grandfather Mountains. We call them the Smoky Mountains, whatever. A lot of caves in there, right? And people report that they have these strange encounters, have had strange encounters with Bigfoots that stink. And I've always proposed the theory is that it's not because they roll around in the mud and musky. They smell like sulfur. They smell like sulfur because inside those caves somewhere is sulfur, right? So that side note right there has nothing to do with this. I just thought that was, one of the things, but it comes into play with what I'm talking about as we move along here, is that they smelled sulfur, right? Now, they started talking to themselves. This was a strange smell to them. I don't know if they actually realized what they were smelling or whatever, but it doesn't matter. They were smelling sulfur, or what they said was rotten eggs. And they started looking around. It was getting really bad. They could smell it. And then what they did is when they made this turn, now they're managing, from the description that I was able to get from the several reports, and there's a lot of documentation on this, right? They were walking on an alley, and then they had to make a turn to their left. And when they made that turn, it was actually down another alley. So you have walls, and you make another turn, and they have walls, right? There was nothing. And when they made that turn into the second alley where they were walking, the smell was really strong. However, 6 to 8 feet in front of them on the ground was something crouched down, leaning up against the wall, right? The friend, Katia, her initial response is that it looked like a child was hurt and was laying up against the wall. So she tries to, I guess her, maternal instincts kicked in. She tries to, oh my gosh, quickly go. One of the other girls, it doesn't say who, grabs her and stops. And the other one is in, pure shock real quick. What's going on, Quinn? Nice to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out tonight, guys. Talking about the Brazil's Roswell here incident. So anyways, she sees the creature. She tries to run. Or she sees the thing. It turns out to be a creature. She sees this thing, tries to run. One of the other girls grabs her, stops. The other one is in a shock. 6 to 8 feet away from them, right? What they all three described as seeing was a 4 to 5 foot tall creature crouched down, leaning up against the wall next to them, right? I wrote down these notes here. I want to make sure I get this description right. Thin, frail body. These are their exact words, right? It was a thin, frail body. Large head, disproportionately big for its size, right? Now, your initial thoughts is that sounds like a traditional, how they describe those little gray aliens, right? It's not. Gray aliens had black eyes. They said this thing had huge red eyes, right? And his skin was brownish, but looked oily, some sort, how they described it, right? They actually said they used the term oily, slick, or damp. That's how they were describing it, right? So just like coming, just wet, right? No hair, no clothing, right? It was crouched low, and it was leaning up against the wall. Now, this is important. After that, the girls, they gave their stories vary here. One of them said it looked injured. The other one said it looked exhausted, like it was tired, right? And it was wet because it was sweating, right? It was down, sitting on the ground with its knees pulled up close to its chest, and it had its arms wrapped around. It was like hugging itself on the arms, right? Like it was, hugging itself like this. But when it was hugging itself, the girls all three described that it had these fingers, claw-like fingers. They didn't describe the amount of fingers that it had, but what they all said is that at the end of the fingers were these claws, right? Kind of like, didn't say how big they were, but like noticeably claws, right? And again, but to all of them, they said when they saw that and they stopped there next to it for a little bit, this went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, right? This was a very, very long encounter. And they said that as they stood there next to it, the being was noticing them as well. And it was giving them no type of nonverbal communication, right? There was no talk, but they knew that it could see them, and that obviously that it was recognizing them. And they noticed that the longer they stared at it, that the odor from this creature started to change. It went from a sulfur smell to a ammonia type smell, right? And then from ammonia type smell, it kind of drifted into this, like what they described as like a strong chemical smell that was coming off of it. And I've covered a story on here about the flatwood monster that was seen in West Virginia, so long ago. And that when the people got close to the flatwoods monster in Virginia, it let out some type of chemical that burnt their eyes, like some type of non-lethal crowd control that went through it, right? And that actually makes me very reminiscent of that flatwood monster encounter, is what I think might have been going on here. It was doing something with its body, releasing some type of chemical out of its body to try to maybe protect itself some way or somehow, right? That's the best way. That's just my hypothesis with it. Obviously I didn't know what was going on, but the description was very, very, very detailed in their part, right? They talk more about the smell than they actually do really the description of the creature as they move along, right? So anyways, these girls are very kind-hearted. They do not freak out. They do not run. One of them decides, I'm going to go get the police, right? But the police are that way, past the creature, right? Yes, exactly, Billy. It's what I thought, man. Self-defense mechanism, like a skunk, right? But the police are past the creature. And so one of the girls, didn't say who, gets to the side, but goes past the creature when it was going by, right? The other two stay with it. Now, I worked pretty good with AI when I made the thumbnail, half the thumbnail, trying to describe what the creature looked like, the best interpretation that I could get by the story. So if you look at the thumbnail on the YouTube video or go to the community section, you'll see the creature, how it is as well, right? Now, they go and get the police, right? The girl tells the police what's going on, kind of a little bit of panic, but the police are like, okay, sure, all right. And one of them gets up and goes with him. When the policeman gets there, right? Now, this is important. I actually have this guy's name, man. When the police get there, they describe, you have one more witness in his name, and I'll get to his name in a second as we go with it, right? His name is Marco L. Chereze, right? That's his name. I'm sorry, my Portuguese is terrible. He gets there as well. And so now we're adding a fourth element into the reporting, right? And this is important. They all four describe the creature as being not aggressive, right? Not aggressive at all. In fact, he appeared to be frightened. Frightened and scared, but not aggressive. Never made a sound, did not approach them. It just sat there, watched. And when they stayed with him, right? The policeman comes back. The local police down there is the Policia, something, the Miltar or what. It's a distinction, man. You have military police is law enforcement, not the army. Is how it's named, right? He gets on his radio. He says, "Hey, look, man, there's something going on back here." And these people seem to be so compassionate. He describes it as injured, right? It's not a panic, it's injured. So they call for an ambulance to come down there, right? So the ambulance is actually, when the ambulance people show up, they're down there. Now you have the police officer, more officers are coming to the scene. You have the girls that are there now, and now you have the ambulance people coming down there. It didn't give me a number, but it would be safe to assume that it was at least two, right? At least two more people in the ambulance that shows up that are looking at this live creature, right? So that puts the total right now around 8, maybe 10. Anywhere in the UFO, UAP community, that right there is considered a mass sighting, period, right? 10 people witnessing something. I call it, how we do around here. I know people call it aliens, call it demons. Just for the sake of the story, I always do this if you've been here for a while. The not us's. There was something that was not human there. The ambulance people get there, right? And what they do is actually they are like, I'm not touching that. That's literally what happened when they got there. I'm not touching this thing. I'm not touching this thing. I'm not doing it. The other police officers are like, hey, do your job. And they're like, no, I'm not touching it. And so what happens then, and this is actually completely amazing, right? Is Marco, the police officer that was there before, he picks it up. He picks up the creature, right? The thing, whatever it is, takes it to his squad car, and he's going to drive it to the hospital, right? So he gets on the radio. He's telling him he's coming, right? He cradles it. He carries it all the way to his vehicle, wherever that's at. It doesn't really say the distance. He puts it in the back seat. He jumps in the car, and he takes off, right? He gets it to the hospital, gets out of the car, picks it up, takes it into the hospital, tries to take it into the hospital. The two paramedics that were there radio back to the hospital, and they will not let this cop in. They're like, no, we are not. You are not you are not coming in here with that. We don't know what that is. We don't know what's going on. Like, this turns into a whole big thing, right? They won't let him in. He's got this creature, and this is 4 to 5 feet tall. This isn't an infant now. He's carrying, probably would say, like a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old, right? He's carrying it in his arms, right? So they won't take it. He takes it back to his car, puts it in to the car, and he's going to take it all the way across the village or wherever they're going to another hospital, right? So he's got it back in his car. He's driving. The whole time he's doing this, he's in contact with his police station or whatever, and they're realizing that, okay, something's going on. He's telling them that this creature, this being, is getting worse, right? Something's going on in his car. It's not doing well. It's not doing well. So they freak out a little bit. And they're like, hey, look, man. Well, they don't freak out. They're like, hey, look, we are not equipped to handle this at all, right? At all, right? So they call the local military base, right? And the military base, again, is not close. It's not far, but it's not close. From the judgment, the based on the time intervals that happened, I would say it was probably about 45 minutes away, right? So they contact the military base. They tell them what's going on. There's back and forth, right? Again, but the military does respond, and they respond in a big way, right? They start rolling up in like deuce and a quarters. Like, if you don't know what a deuce and a quarter is, man, these are these huge, massive trucks, right? So they start rolling up down through Varginha, right? And they started setting up a perimeter. The girls were there at the police station. The military came in. They're pulling everybody in. They took them where it happened. They're starting to corner off these edges of, the roads, whatever, basically setting up this large perimeter. Meanwhile, the whole time this is going on, Marco still has this, little alien, we'll call it a little whatever, in his car. He gets to the second hospital, right? Now he gets into the second hospital. He gets up the stairs. They don't know he's coming. He just walks into the emergency room. He just walks in there, right? First doctor he sees, he's like, hey, look, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And the doctor looks at this being, right? And he's just like in shock. Now, but to his credit, they have a conversation. I don't know what was said. He's like, okay, put it on this, bed with, the type with the wheels they move around in hospitals. Put it on this bed. He rushes it into X-ray. They literally took X-rays of this being, right? To see if they could see what his how his vital signs were or whatever. Man. And so they start working on this little creature, right? They start working. The nurses are in there. Other doctors are coming in there. They're looking at it. During their panic, they're hypothesizing that, hey, this is a burnt child. They're trying to figure out what it is, right? That it was some type of, mutation or whatever. All this stuff going through their head. So Marco calls back to his police station saying, hey, here's my location. Here's where I'm at. Here's what's going on. About 2 hours have passed, right, since Marco got to the second hospital. Again, this is where I lose the timestamps go away, right? Safe to say it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Still daylight, right? He's there. They don't know what to do about this little creature, right? They don't know how to treat it. They don't know how to do anything, right? Now, conflicting reports, right here is where it gets splits, right? Some reports state that this being died on the hospital bed, right? Other reports say that it didn't die on the hospital bed. But what for sure happens next is the following. Several military personnel show up to the hospital. They go into that hospital and they take the body. They take it, dead or alive. They took it. And not only did they take that, they took all the x-rays and they took all the paperwork that was in there or whatever, told Marco to go back to his police unit or whatever, head back over town. It didn't say that they threatened anybody or said anything to the doctors or whatever. They just took everything, right? And they left and they rolled out. Now, so that's high strangeness number one. Here comes high strangeness number two. Around the time that they make contact with that recovery of the being that was with Marco, chatter starts coming across the radio that they spotted two more. That there were two more. But these weren't injured. These were moving very mobile, very quickly through certain areas. And the reports eventually led to is that they were heading into the fields on the western edge of the town, that they were heading into the fields, and the military went after them. The military went into the fields after them, chasing them or whatever, trying to, get a hold of these things, right? And conflicting reports say the following as well. Several eyewitnesses later claimed that two more of the creatures were captured alive. Two more, right? And the other creature was all that had Marco had a hold of. Marco L. Therese had a hold of, was taken at the hospital. So that brings a total anywhere from three. Now, again, some people come back and forth about, the other two didn't happen. Sure, doesn't matter. Focus on the one. The one definitely happened. There's no more written documentation other than witnesses saying that, we'll get to it. They're lying. They're covering this up, right? So the military secures the whole area. They're there for 24 hours, right? They're there for 24 hours. Some reports say 36. Okay, they were there for a day and a half, man. All my YouTube lawyers out there who love to critique my speech, right? 36 hours they were there. But also, out of the blue, we showed up. United States of America showed up down there in Vargas. We showed up down there, and we showed up not in force, but we showed up very quickly with our military equipment. And we put our helicopters in the air, and our stuff was going around. And we drifted out a little bit into, but our search was not over the city. It was over the fields to the west. And if you remember those loud bangs and pops that people were talking about they heard around 6 a.m., that's what some people were saying, that something crashed or something went down. I say something got shot down, right? Now, if you look at any of the UFO, UAP hearings, or if you talk to people who talk to these, have, these theories about how we have the ability to make these things crash. We do. And I'm going to tell you the science of it real quick, right? So this is my cell phone right here. If you took my cell phone and I threw it up against the wall, or I threw it up into the ocean, right? Or if I threw it as hard as I could, the Earth's gravitational field or the Earth's magnetic pull or the ether around it would eventually, make it explode or drop. But if you take your cell phone and you were able to put a bubble around it, right, it becomes what's called transmedium, where it can go through where there is no gravity inside the bubble whatsoever. So when you see these UFO tic-tac videos that make things look like they make left or right turns at impossible speeds, That's because it's inside of a gravitational well or a gravitational field. That's why it appears blurry. And also, that's why I think Bigfoot appears blurry a lot as well in its photos that you see, right? That's a whole nother story. I don't want to get off in that whole cryptid line. But if you hit that craft and you mess up the gravitational field, then the aircraft within inside becomes affected by the laws of physics in our realm that we're in. And so now all of a sudden it falls apart moving at that speed and it crashes. So that's how I think they make these things crashes. And again, that's not an original, it's semi-original, but a lot of people will say the same thing, that we have a way to disrupt the propulsion to make it come down. So anyways, they go out there, they look for something, they find something, they're snooping around, and then you don't know what they get or whatever, and then the gringos leave, right? And here's where it gets a little sad though, right? Officer Marco, the guy who picked up the alien and took the alien or took the being or whatever this creature was to the hospital, about 12 hours after that, he got really, really sick. I'm talking real sick, right? And what he developed was a severe infection of some type. When he was cradling this creature, whatever fluids were coming out of that creature soaked through his shirt and got on his skin, into his skin, and absorbed into his skin. And he developed what looked like just a very bad rash, but it wasn't just a rash. It was actually a insane bacterial infection. Very bad, right? And he actually died like within 24 hours, like later, like he was dead in like a day and a half after holding this creature, right? Now his family, the doctors, they brought him in, he died, he passed away. I don't know what happened to his body. I don't know what happened. I just don't know what they did with it. That like he just literally fades off after the report. His family never really accepted the explanation that he just died from like, a bad, cold or a flu. Everybody who reads the case or looks at this case says that it was a sad event that took place, and that, but it is 100% has to be related to whatever chemicals were coming out of this creature, whatever he was secreting, intentionally or not, that it got absorbed and he died, right? And all the medical people who examined it, the only thing that they will agree on is that it was unusual. Timing was unusual. He was a healthy man, and he just suddenly died after, this creature. And what's amazing to me is no one denies the creature. No one denies it. No one. No report at all denies this creature, right? None of them. They literally argue about what it is, but no one denies that it was there and that happened, right? Now, again, there was no official report of any type of craft being recovered or any type of, vehicles or whatever being reported. But the area was secured. It was thoroughly searched. There is no official report that the two other creatures were taken, right? However, it is reported widely that they gave everything to us and that it was flown somewhere to the United States of America because they felt they were not equipped to deal with this type of situation, and they just basically wanted it gone, right? They just wanted it to go away, right? Now, U.S. intelligence or military advisors were present in Brazil shortly after that as well. After the little recovery team was there, then you got intel guys down there, military guys down there as well, advisors down there. And it does state, they do state that they allegedly transported the creature somewhere to the U.S., which is not shocking at all, And Brazilian authorities do acknowledge that they turned over the investigation to us, to the United States of America, due to lack of facilities and or expertise, is what they said, right? And I think that's odd. To me, I just think it's very odd. The timing of it was odd. Everything was odd, right? But, But here's where the lazy cover-up comes into place, right? They do not confirm or deny that they recovered an aircraft. They do not confirm nor deny that they recovered 2 of these other creatures alive. However, they do confirm that there was a being there, that they took it. They said it was dead, right? But this is what the U.S. wrote down in their official report, right? And this right here, you're going to get a laugh at this. The creature was a mentally ill homeless man who was deformed somehow at birth. That's exactly what the United States of America wrote down and sent back to Brazil, saying that's what happened. That's what they recovered, was a mentally ill homeless man who was severely deformed at birth, right? Yep, you heard it here. They wrote that down. And they said that one of the original reports came out that was redacted was that it was possibly an armadillo or some species that they had never encountered before, like just an unknown armadillo was captured down there. But that got rejected so hard that it came back with the second one, right? Literally, that's happened, man. That's what happened, right? It's crazy, man. And of course, wasn't a mentally ill homeless man who was deformed at birth out there with brown, leathery, brownish green skin with oil coming out, huge head with red eyes, right? It wasn't it, right? And of course, they never even acknowledged the smell or the eyes or the military scale response. Real quick, see here. Yep, you're right, Robert. He died from an infection. Doctors never saw that type of infection before. You're right. The hospital probably Robert added the hospital smelled for months. They couldn't get rid of the smell. I didn't know that. That's good. Thanks for adding that to the conversation, bro. He said, Robert, from the chat zone, there was a crash site. I watched a documentary on this guy going to the gun range, found the crash site. Military showed up, told him to leave. There it is, right? We're unpacking things here tonight, y'all. We're unpacking them, right? Good stuff, Robert. Thanks for adding that, big guy. Now, here's where things I think are pretty awesome, right? They will not let this case go. The people in Brazil will not let this case go. They constantly, they have not commercialized it like, Roswell. You can go to Roswell and get a bunch of cool stuff. They didn't do that down there. They take it very seriously, even to this day. And again, this was 1996, January. You've had multiple independent witnesses, all gave similar descriptions of the creature. The sighting happened during daylight. The entities were described as physical, vulnerable, and present. All right, not woohooey. It was a physical being now. Military response was real and visible. There's records for that. The explanations to this day remain inconsistent with what they're trying to tell you it is. And again, the key records about everything after the military took the creature from the hospital is classified. They won't release that. Everything prior to that is public, but after that, we don't know where it went, right? And that tells me that's exactly when the United States got involved. That's exactly when we got in right there, right? Central and South America, man, they're very open about like these UFO, UAP, or these encounters, right? Especially, it never gets reported in our crappy news country because all we like to talk about is politics 24/7, right? And it's nauseous when I have to hear that. I cannot stand to watch the news. It's the same regurgitated things. Fun fact, we can snatch a president of another country out of Venezuela. Scotland came out today and said that our U.S. military has taken 2 people out of Scotland. We don't know who. But they won't arrest Don Lemon for walking into a church and causing problems. Let that sink in. I don't want to take it there. I'm going to put that on my other channel. I don't want to get too political, but let that sink in. That's the United States of America right now. We won't arrest Don Lemon, but we'll send Delta down to Argentina or to wherever down there to Venezuela and snatch a president out of his palace. Either way. But who cares? We're talking about the fun stuff right here, right? So, you've also had several modern investigators go down there. Jacques Vallée and James Fox. He wrote this thing called Moment of Contact in 2022. I haven't read this book yet, but they went down there and looked at it, and they all come to the conclusion of exactly what we're talking about. That some will say it's a UFO, but here's where I'm gonna give you, my 2 cents for free. But one last thing before we get into this. For the record, no definitive proof has ever been released other than what the locals were talking about there, right? And I believe the locals 100 times over what our government will tell you. And the volume of testimony has never been erased. Huge people talk about it. But Vargas is also a freaking hot spot of just out and out weird stuff, y'all. I'm telling you, man, out and out, just weird things happen in Vargas. Lights, strange creatures, strange reportings, you know, just weird things happen in this area, right? So, I believe it. Again, I believe they encountered something. I also have done I've done on some of my short content, right? That the indigenous people down there that still live in the jungles and hunt with bows and arrows and fish, stuff like that. They were shown a picture of a gray alien one time. They're like, oh yeah, that's the Tikawakawakas. They knew exactly what it was. It wasn't foreign to them at all. And they had no fear of it. And people are like, whoa, that's crazy. Again, it's somewhere in the mystery minutes of my YouTube channel or on TikTok or Instagram. You can check it out as well. But also, a British couple in, I think it was 2015 or 16, were hiking down there. And they were taking pictures, and they accidentally caught pictures of what looks like a gray alien walking through the jungle with this blue kind of like light following it like 8 feet. That light was a portal. And here's where I want you guys to stick with me on that. Again, I've been to the UAP, UFO hearings. I've talked to all the people that you see on, History Channel talking about this stuff, or Discovery Channel, or on Joe Rogan. I've met these guys. The pictures are on my social medias over there. Go take a look at it, or go to the community section on this channel. They're probably posted up there, right? I don't think these creatures are coming from outer space. And hear me out on this, right? Don't click off, right? Aliens, demons, not us's. Here's what I think is going on. In the Bible, it says those who live on the earth, and in the waters. Tim Burchett last July was talking about how the U.S. believes that there's 6 to 7 civilizations living within our oceans. All the beasts in the book of the Revelations come out of where? The oceans. The Bible has several references about those who live on the earth and in the earth as well. These little orbs is how they traverse around here, but these metallic objects that are knocking down, they're not traveling, billions of light years and coming here, right? They're not doing, because the question I want you to ask, the question I'm seriously when I say this, right? The question I want you to ask yourself is, what do they want? Why do they keep coming here? Why go all that trouble? Why go all that bazillion miles to get here, right? And again, take the woohoo out of it. Let's talk about pattern recognition, right? Just modern day pattern recognition. You look in the skies, they're spraying us with something. You don't know what it is, but you know it's there. It wasn't there when you were a kid, right? Disney just got caught literally 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago going back and re-editing their films to put chemtrails in there so kids would think it was normal, right? Go look it up. Look it up. Take all this out there. It's pattern recognition, right? That's what you're looking at. So these creatures that are here, and again, I don't want to get into the firmament. I don't want to get into all that stuff. I've talked about that as well, but that's not what I want to, steer off this video about. Pattern recognition, right? What do they freaking want? That's the question that you need to be asking. And when you peel back the layers of what could be, I did a strong video about how a video of the current president of Brazil, who his own people say is extremely satanic. If you go down to the Mystery Minutes section of this, my channel, this dude's voice sounds like demons coming out of him when he's talking, right? And then you go down the whole thing, the whole shapeshifter things or whatever that goes into the Black Eye Club and all this stuff that goes into it. What do these things want? Why are they here? And every time you get to that end of that rabbit hole, another thing too is, why are they not messing with us more? It's like they can kind of poke us, but they're not allowed to dominate us, right? They're not allowed to dominate us, right? And when I was reading, someone sent me this scripture about how it says that when Christianity is preached to all creatures on the earth. I haven't looked that verse up there. I never noticed that it said creatures on earth, right? Like preached to all the creatures on earth. I thought it said preached all over the earth. I need to go and look that up. But some people are telling me it's because the things that are inside the earth all answer to God. We all have the same God, and they all answer it. And that's where it splits. Like, okay, yeah, they're demons. No argument. No, they're aliens. No argument. Not us's. Not our dimension. Sure, not us's. They were here before us. No argument. I'm not arguing with you. But let's come to an agreement that it's strange. Something weird is happening. Something is going on that, for some reason, our government goes through a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of trouble to cover up, right? The whole Men in Black situations, all this other stuff, how, the back and forth. People tell me all the time that, oh, this only happens in America. No, it happens all over the world. But you guys just either ignore it or it doesn't really get doesn't get talked about. But this is a global phenomenon, right? So for me, I don't think these are from outer space. I think they were here before us. I think that the scriptures tell you that, again, if you don't believe the scriptures, go read the Anunnaki Sumerian tablets or what. It's all that is the book of Enoch. Completely the same stories. One's told like from a biblical standpoint, spiritual standpoint. The other one's told from, a sci-fi movie. That's it. There were men on the earth before us, men, mighty men, men of great renown. There were things down here. All flesh of the earth was corrupted prior to the flood. We all know that, right? I tell people all the time that in the Garden of Eden, Eve was not talking to a boa constrictor. It was a lizard man, a serpent being of some type, right? And all you got to do is do one little scratch and look up serpents. Go down to Peru. They talk about these serpent gods down there that look like these huge iguanas, right? Like men. Every single society on the face of the earth, ancient society, has a word for a shape-shifting reptilian. The Hopi people out of the Grand Canyon said that they were brought out of the earth by these shape-shifting reptilians. They call them the ant people, so people think they look like ants. No, they call them the ant people because they live like ants. They live in the ground in all these major catacombs, right? I did a story on that, man, in like 1915. They came across these strange stuff in the Grand Canyon. And in the Grand Canyon to this day, you just can't go anywhere you want to go. And they've blocked off a lot of these cave openings. And they use cast iron metal. And they don't use titanium or anything like that. And again, if you look at, what cast iron supposedly does to these beings or whatever, they can't touch that stuff. It burns them. Look it up. Right? Anyways, that's my thing. I don't think that these creatures were coming from another planet. Those creatures were zipping around down there somewhere in Brazil. We knocked it down. They had something we wanted, a craft of some sort, and we took it. And I think it happens a lot. And again, when I get into are they angels? Are they demons? Are they extraterrestrials? I don't know what they are, man. To be honest with you, I don't know what they are. This creature right here seemed like it had no malevolent intentions, even though a man did die. It wasn't terrorizing anybody. It looked scared and terrified. But I've also heard a lot of stories about how, and I've had my own experiences. I told you, man, it's every year I'm dropping that episode. The reason why I started this YouTube channel, about what happened when I was in Japan and in Diego Garcia. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. So, man, I don't know what they are, but I do know that I don't think they're allowed to touch us. I don't think they're supposed to be touching us, right? I don't know if they're remnants of the flood. I don't know if they're Anunnaki offspring. Again, my YouTube channel, this is the first time you're finding me, I'm not the guy that's going to sit there and tell you I got the answers. I'm figuring it out as we go, just like with you guys along the way. But I'll tell you, I don't know what it is, but I know it happened. I know it was strange. And I know that this case offers a lot more concrete evidence than other cases. And it's fascinating, right? But yeah, y'all, angels, demons are real. I just don't know they're 100% real. 100% real. But I think that when the Bible says that we are wonderfully and fearfully made, and even if there was things here on this earth before us, which I believe there was, we're off limits. They're not supposed to be touching us. They're not supposed to be messing with us, right? Again, I've seen way too many videos of people who were claiming to be abducted, and they call out the name of Jesus and it stops, right? It stops. And I think a lot of people lead that to believe like, yeah, because they're demons. I take it a step further. When Jesus was telling his disciples, I go before you, there's many mansions in my Father's house. I go to make a space for you. I don't think mansions actually meant like, 8,000 square foot homes. I think it was talking about universes, dimensions. When he says there's many mansions in my Father's house, I think that's what he was talking about. And again, where it says every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. And we know there's weird stuff out. Look at my walls. You guys, people that watch this channel, y'all all have had some weird shit happen, right? Again, I'm trying to, that's the first curse word I've said, man, like 7 episodes. But you've all had some fiduciary go down, right? We know we're not alone. We know it. We know that freaking, it ain't just us, right? You'll never convince some people, but people who watch this channel, you freaking know, right? And when it says every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Christ is King, they already know. I think they're more ahead of us in that standpoint, man. And I think that all these sightings that are starting to take place, like that are just like speeding up, right? In the book of Revelations, it talks about at the Battle of Armageddon that the crows will feast on the bodies of men and mighty men. Mighty men are Nephilim, or the offspring of Nephilim, right? Just like it says in Genesis that on the earth at that time, they were mighty men of great renown, right? Even, King David had his mighty men. King David had a posse of like 30 Nephilim that was helping him go around, right? So they have to integrate into our society somehow to take part in that war. And I think that this slow increasing sightings that are happening, and we just see this weird stuff happen over and over and over again, right? I think, man, they're slowly starting to come out, man. Hey, that's my opinion, man, and I'm entitled to it, right or wrong. If you got a better theory, I'd love to hear it, man. Throw it in the comments on this video, guys. And again, sorry I got a little loud there. I'm sorry I dropped the little curse word on that, but it was towards the end, so hopefully no kids are watching on that. So, I hate to leave on a cliffhanger. I don't have the notes, but you know what I know about this case, and you can tie it into the larger body of work that we like to get around here, you guys, and let me know your comments down there as well. MC, the killer, disembodied demon spirits of the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels. That's correct. And again, shadow people are disembodied Nephilim. God said they will not be into heaven. They won't go in. They were not supposed to be created. The watchers and the women were not supposed to have that mixture of DNA, so they don't get to get in. And they're sitting down here to torment us, right? So anyways, guys, we're coming up on our time limit here. And I said, I don't shoot over an hour anymore. I don't want to keep people going. I want to tell everybody, man, thank you for turning in. Rumble, you guys need to talk more. YouTube, you guys are lively over here. You ever heard of the legend of red-headed bloody bones from down in the Appalachian, Tennessee? No, bro. No. So but I'll write that down. And I will look at that. I will take a look at that real quick. Hold on. Let me write that down. We'll take a look at that, man. So yeah. So are you from Tennessee too, by the way, Mick Pillar? My Tennessee crowd's in here tonight, man. I don't want to give too many locations out, man. But hey, what's going on? I can't pronounce your name. From Serbia again. 3 a.m. here, boys. Thanks for sticking out, man. All right. Thank you, Mike Nation. Thanks, brother. Thanks for hanging out, guys. So look, guys. You know how we do around here? That's our format, man. We got some really good guests lined up, man. All lined up in pre-production, man. I've actually been a guest on a couple other people's shows. We're starting to get a little bit big time around here. I like that. And I will post that out as it goes around here, man. Thanks so much, man. Thanks, Billy. Thanks. All right. So yeah, Tennessee's showing up. Birdstown, Tennessee. They're everywhere over there. My Tennessee crew is coming out big for me. I love you guys. So look, and Serbia too. We got people from Serbia, man. I don't want to say I'm world famous, but I do have a guy watching me from Serbia, man, at 3 a.m. over there. And I appreciate you guys more than you know, man. We'll be going live a little bit more often as we get moving along here, man. We're trying to perfect this format, do it. I'm still, I'm very rough and I'm unpolished, and we just get it as we go here. So you guys, thanks for tuning in. Leave any questions or comments down there. Give us a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please throw me a subscribe. I just want to be able to brag to all my friends that I got a lot of subscribers. So you guys, stay safe. And you know how we do. Let me do it left-handed. That's all you get for $1, nerds. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.